You know Jody from HR?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Pretty big department.
Okay, I got 6 o'clock.
It's across the street from the weekends. Daily, I
Ah,
pipe fitter. Small.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the Land Use Planning Public Works Committee to order on this Monday, the 2nd, 6 p.m., both here at the Town Hall Annex in person and via Zoom. And roll call.
Me.
I'm here. Naomi Rodriguez.
And John Marshall, Councilor Marshall. You got us all, Roxanne? Juliet's here.
I have every. Yep, Gary, John, Naomi, Kevin, Juliet.
And Eric Treaster's here is too.
Oh, I didn't see Eric. Okay, great.
He's
Thank you.
hiding behind me.
Behind Kevin.
Okay. Review and approval of prior
Oh, wait.
minutes.
Citizen comments.
No, it's not even on there. Oh, yeah, it's on this one. I'm gonna go by this one. Citizen comments.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoom.
During your last meeting, which I just finished watching, which I watched very carefully on Zoom, Juliet made some comments on the record about me that I am concerned about. She stated that regarding some of the materials that I've provided to the committee, she stated that, quote, I should point out that there's some flaws in Eric Treaster's material. There are things that are just blatantly not true. Tony, a few minutes later, stated to the committee, I agree with Ms. Hodge that a number of things Mr. Treaster has stated in several of his missives are simply not correct, unquote. Those types of statements are of concern to me. My reputation is important to me, and I do sometimes make mistakes, but I try very, very carefully to be accurate and honest. And when someone alleges that I have written something that is blatantly not true, that something should be identified so everyone knows exactly what it is, its significance, and I should have an opportunity to rebut. The apparently, Juliet did prepare a document in response to identify the blatantly not true items, and which she provided to me early this afternoon. And what I've done is I prepared a submission, which I will send. I did not have time to send it to you electronically, but I will later on this evening. If that's all right with you. And it addresses.
So land use. This is the town council land use, yeah.
Thank you.
It addresses each one of Juliet's. It addresses the most significant issues that Juliet
Do you have an extra copy?
specified. Yes. I'm not going to read it. The part that's in italics is my statement. The part that is in yellow is Juliet's response and her write-up. And the part that's in red is my rebuttal. When you do get a chance to read it very carefully. I tend to use words in a precise manner. And many of my statements are based upon the current contents of the zoning regulations, which Juliet and I both agree need lots of improvement, but nevertheless, that's what's in the regs. And so some of my statements are made based upon those the current contents of our zoning regulations. But read it over. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email. I'll give you a formal response if you wish. You can call me. But I really object when somebody says that I have made statements that are blatantly not true. I think that when you go through this, you will find that there may be some differences of opinion. Nothing wrong with that. I support my opinions with as much information as I can upon request. I refer to the statutes. I refer to the regulations. I respect Juliet. We agree on 95% of everything. There's only 5% where we have a disagreement, which is minor in my opinion. But the word blatantly untrue, it was hurtful. And Tony's concurrence added to that hurt. So I urge members of the town, I urge volunteers, I urge staff, choose your words carefully on public records, okay? They are important. Okay, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you,
Or-
Mr. Truster.
For the record, I'd like to add that Tony, who's been referenced here, is Tony Capone, Chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
That is correct.
Mr. Truster.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Any other citizen comments?
I was just here regarding a tow truck that is parked over across the street from my house.
Can you take your name for the record, please?
Yeah.
Marshall Charlucci.
You want to come sit over
Yeah.
here so we can.
Just want to
hear
make
you?
sure it gets heard.
So my name is Marshall Charlucci. I live at 24 Oakwood Drive. And over the past couple of months, there's been a large flatbed tow truck that's been parked directly across the street from my driveway. And this is an individual that doesn't, like, they're not a homeowner or anything. They're just kind of like living on the couch over there. Not a taxpayer. It's been a hindrance to my neighbors. There's about 4 neighbors down the street that are very upset about this tow truck. Weighs about 20,000 pounds. It's rather large, nice newly paved road, but visibility is hard for people to get in and out of the driveway. And it's really shiny, loud. And I was just wondering if maybe they could be a change, because I did see that there are regulations with like home businesses, and under the home business regulations that you do currently have, they that wouldn't even be allowed, you know, something that's like so loud and large, even supposed to be kind of discreet, you know, if you're operating a home business. But unfortunately, if an individual were to be like living on somebody's couch or something like that, I mean, nobody is protected from having a large vehicle like that parked outside under the current regulations. And you know, I would like for something to hopefully be changed regarding that.
I'll jump in here. He and I have spoken and trying to figure out whether it belongs in a ordinance or regulation, because you do have an ordinance on parking, but it's mainly focused on like winter. Yeah.
Winter
Yeah.
parking, right.
So I mean, obviously now is the time for me to slide something into the regulations, because I'm about to submit it, which I can do. We just haven't sort of figured out.
Yeah,
What?
so I was thinking, so just an FYI, as the town council, we have no say on zoning matters.
Okay.
Okay,
Where did we think it was more appropriate?
right. One of the things is I heard about this. I just happened to read there was an article in the Connecticut Examiner that Stanford had the exact same thing that they were dealing with.
Okay.
And they were actually drafting up a set of ordinance, an ordinance to prohibit commercial parking. It's not, I'm not gonna say it's isolated to your area. I know
Yeah.
in my neighborhood, I see some big rig trucks. The trailer's not there, but the trucks themselves
Right.
are frequently parked in front of a house off the street.
Yeah.
I don't live across the street, but it does make it rather, and they're on a curve, so it makes it rather interesting when you're trying to
Right.
have to go around them. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Because I was thinking, can we attack it, you know, the sightline approach, like it blocks sightline, but then it's not a permanently fixed object, so they could just be moving it around
Right.
to find a spot that it doesn't block, so that
Right.
wouldn't work.
That's
It would
right.
have to
That's-
really
I
be,
think
you
it has to be an
cannot
ordinance.
park a commercial vehicle on a town road
Right.
without.
Or anything over a certain size,
Information or
right,
something.
or something over a certain size. I mean,
Right.
when you get a commercial pickup truck, it's one thing, but when you say, like, I said, 20,000.
20,000,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pound,
It's a lot.
flatbed trailer or semi rig, then it gets kind of different.
Yeah, I mean, I just, this isn't a home occupation, doesn't qualify.
No, I wouldn't fall
Really?
into that, because
So
they're not
I
running the
couldn't go
business out of
after
the
it that
house,
way.
right?
Right. Well, under the home occupation, I mean, everything that's under there would, you know.
Take care of it.
Take care of it.
Yeah,
But
so-
if they're not running the business from that.
Exactly,
Residents.
exactly.
Well, that it's also, it is on our agenda under new business type too, so we can discuss that a little bit more.
No, I don't agree.
Yeah, we think that,
Yeah.
recognize we move at the speed of government, so it's not. gonna be
I
quick.
understand, I understand. Yeah, and it's like, you know, on call, so it's like 24 hours a day. I mean, things firing it up.
Understood. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you
If
very
you'd like
much.
to come to this event, you can meet your elected officials,
Okay,
and I wrote some names down.
There's most
There
of them
for you.
there.
yeah. Very nice meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will bring it up.
I really appreciate that.
So I just, we haven't had a meeting last time.
Perfect. Well, thank you for letting me know. You're the one who called me,
Yeah.
told me. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Nice to see you in person, definitely. All right.
Right, appreciate
Thanks
your
a lot.
comments. Thank you.
Let's have a great night.
Thank you.
You too.
You as well.
All right, are there any other citizen comments? I don't see anybody in the chat on Zoom. Okay, I'm gonna stick to this agenda, it's a little different. Informational items, I do not have any. Besides the meet your elected officials, which everybody sees, which is going to be held at 10 to 12 on May 14th. Slide that promo in there. Review and approval of prior minutes.
So,
I'll second that. Counselor Rodriguez.
And everyone have a chance to look at them. Any discussion? Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. that was- All right, so do I have a second? Oh,
I
sorry, we have
second
that. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Old business, discussion and possible action to periodically review the list of town-owned property and update accordingly for the assignment of administrative control. I know, Councilor Rodriguez, you've been working on this.
Mhm.
I would just like to make a suggestion here, you know, kind of going through it is to a good way to, I think, approach it. And I know that we've talked about this a little bit, is to try to go through our list and find the ones that we feel need to be changed. Instead of just taking each property down the list,
Okay,
finding the ones that we know either need to be assigned or need to be changed, or we feel, you know, serves that discussion to be changed, and attack it that way.
and I have another comment. Ms. Hodge,
Mhm.
when do you think the GIS is going to be updated?
We have made great progress, so he's finished all the 46 maps that I sent him. Well, that's not all of them. He's working on the mismatch report now with Adriana, so however long it takes her to go through that. But there were about 20 pages of mistakes. So I'd say we're a couple, probably a month out.
Okay. So we can go over this today, but I wanted to wait until the GIS is completed because that would be so helpful.
Sure.
I mean, I could do today's report, but if you want to, we can wait till the GIS is done.
Yeah. Do that. And like I
That'll
said,
make it
and
a
then
lot
I think,
easier.
you know, too, as we start looking at this, if we, go through the list and find things that we feel need to be changed, those are the ones that we can bring up instead of just going down one by one by one by one. Yeah, especially if ones are already,
Done deal.
right, you know what I mean, that just
No,
are
those are
no
easy.
brainers,
to figure out,
And then
but
attack it more that way, which I think will get us through.
Are there any unassigned?
What's that?
Yeah, there's some new ones on the list that are not assigned
Yeah.
yet.
Really?
And I
And
sent,
that's good. We haven't
Mhm.
updated the list since 2017.
Hmm.
So there's properties that have come from different applications that, you know,
Yeah.
for subdivisions and stuff like that, that got assigned to the town for open space that we just, the council hasn't acted on yet.
and it's really hard to do without an updated GIS.
yeah, I
So
sent two,
Yeah.
two of them
I think too, I
from
got
Mike
those.
Morelli, from the Conservation Commission. He had sent over.
I mean, yeah, it's just assigning, and there's some that, there's been some questions about who has, you know, if, and then I'm not, you know, it's like, there's some properties that have administrative control assigned to somebody, and it's like, is that the right group to continue having it? That's the kind of discussion I'm thinking about going forward, is not necessarily line by line going through every property that the town owns
Right.
and trying to
Because a
dig
lot
up
of
the
these are
history.
obvious.
Well, and how we and dig up the history of something that happened 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I can think back the last 10, because that's where I've been, but after that, before that, I'm kind of a little bit lost.
Right,
So I found this too from like 08. And so that somebody was working on it back then, but then I don't see all of these on this one.
what is it? I can't,
It's somebody went through all the parcels and they're handwritten in, the ones that were blank and who they should be, or what they were and who they should be assigned to.
is that an extra copy?
No, I just found it in my stuff today,
So all these here, you're saying, are
but I can make it up. So I guess it was,
Well,
it
before
was in
we-
08, it was like a resolution for you guys.
well, yeah, we, you know, before,
Were you here in 08?
I was here, but I was on zoning,
But then wouldn't all of these,
This
shouldn't they
is-
be in the one that we,
You would think.
unless we've gotten rid of them.
like a war memorial, would we have theoretically gotten? rid
No,
of
that's
that,
on,
or
that's on the list.
on Colonel Ledyard?
Yeah.
I know we talked about that
We
the
talked about
last
it last
time.
time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes, I remember that one. Yeah, right on page 2, I think.
Yeah, it would
Where
have
is it?
had to have been page 2.
So,
That's 720. I have 77, 794.
Yeah, 794 is right here.
794 is right there.
Yep.
794, 881.
Yep, and 889.
737 was the former firehouse, which is now the police station.
But like this one, see,
Yeah. Civil
There's a
War
war.
monument.
is what number?
It was on here. Oh,
720 isn't on here though.
yeah, and it may have got merged into the Ville Library property
Okay.
because it's the same.
Well, I figured
Parcel.
I'd give you a copy of that and you could just.
I'll make a copy when the
Mhm.
meeting's over.
Okay.
That way I can give it back to you.
But this was done by Brian Pillay.
Yeah, I just,
I remember Brian. Yeah.
I mean, you can have them. I found them
Yeah.
and just wasn't sure if they had.
But, you know,
been on
like I
here.
said, that's from 2008, so
I just wanted to double check.
things have changed. It's like we may have merged the property lines together instead of having as two separate distinct properties
Yeah.
between the Ville Library and where the War Memorial is.
Okay.
Um,
They're probably all there. I just,
Yeah, we've had a few swaps.
it
too.
We've had some land
Yeah.
swaps go on, we've had some other changes, we've had some mergers of properties, so there's been some stuff that's gone on in the last
14
16 years, 14 years, yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is. a good
Do you
one.
want this back? You should have it back for
Uh,
historical reasons.
I don't think it
No?
matters.
Okay.
You could use the copier right there in the,
Yeah.
right behind the door. there. Just throw it in there, make a copy, give it
Yeah.
back.
All right, so we'll work on that list, and that way we'll wait till next month for that report.
Mhm.
See what the GIS is, and then, like I said, we'll try to start attacking that more on a change basis, yeah, exactly. Any other discussion on this?
Yeah.
We'll move on to item number 2 on the agenda, continued discussion regarding the progress of enforcing regulations to address blight issues. Do we have any?
I did ask for a formal blight report, but I did not get that, so, I'm gonna get my abbreviated. based on what I found in his office. So it looks like in 2022, so far, we've had 7 blight complaints that are ongoing. Usually just junk and garbage and unsightly houses that are in disrepair. That's all the latest ones were. We're extremely short-staffed in the land use department right now. I mean, like dangerously so. Should probably shut the doors. Quite honest. So I know he's getting to them as fast as he can. But, sending out letters,
Have there been any new, like,
uh, April 14th, 26 Lake Street, and March 31st, 22 Chapman. I think they were the latest ones. The others were in January, January 3rd. And there's been, so since he's new, he's sort of, I think, confusing blight with the regular ordinance, because we do have a junk,
Yes.
you know, and junk
yeah.
cars regulations. So I've been trying to get him to be very specific which regulation. Do both, that's fine with me. I don't care which one you put it under, but as long as you cite the regulations. So I think some of these other ones are crossover as well. We're not overly active. We do rely on complaints. We don't have time to speak.
any questions? Or any further discussion?
I'm not on that list, am I?
What's your address?
So is that list the same that was given to us back in December 2021?
No, it's got a couple updates from April, it looks like.
Yeah, because I don't have those on there.
Yeah,
I think I think most of those were on there, then they did it. But they may not have, there was like 4 that the inspection date was dated on there, January 5th, although the pictures didn't look very January.
Yeah, unfortunately, what's in the agenda is dated back in December.
Are Randy's addresses dead ends? Have they been on the list for quite a while?
There are,
Some of
there
them
are
come
some,
Yeah,
you know, some zoning enforcement people are aggressive and some don't like the conflict, so we did go through a period where somebody didn't like the conflict, so I noticed, and I had Mike Cherry go after quite a few of those, so he did make some progress there, so you do have repeat offenders and basically the same in the big town, it's the junk cars. And there's one coming up on, oh gosh, I don't know these streets yet.
Unless they've cleared it, a couple of different, like,
There's 5 more junk cars up there, so.
Okay, so we're doing these reports quarterly, so for next quarter, could we have an updated list?
Yeah, I did ask him, but I think he's
Overwhelmed,
struggling to catch up right now.
yeah.
understandable.
All right. We'll move on to item number 3, which is the Clark Farm property potential future uses for the 125 Colonel Ledyard Highway. And I don't think there's really any
no, then,
discussion on that. We're just going to keep that on the,
yeah, we signed the lease last year with Mr. Major to continue farming and also use the Dry Town Trail.
That's a 3-year lease?
I do have a one question on that though, before we go on. So what about that, well, not on that, but on the lower part, there's no interest in
Of what?
farming by the power lines?
Oh, no, the way the lease is written up, actually, he's doing the main portion, which you see right up on 117,
Okay,
and then back where the power lines are. He wanted the town to go brush hog back there so that he could. But then there was some deal getting worked out where I think because Eversource was going in there to work on the power lines that they were gonna clear that
Oh,
out
okay.
anyway. So the way the lease is contingent, he's leasing basically the whole property.
yeah,
But it's kind of like sequential, so once he's able to farm it, then he'll start paying on the second part.
oh, all right.
How much does he pay to lease?
I don't remember, it's not a lot, we're talking maybe, I think, like $3,000 or $4,000 a year or something.
But it keeps the property,
He keeps the property
Yeah.
as, you know, it's one part of the lease is he's to keep the property cleared and then, you know, any of
It
the
needs a
invasive
presence on the
weeds.
property,
Right,
keeps,
Yeah.
you know, the hooligans from going in there.
right.
but,
And on top of now, you got the Tri-Town Trail on top, you know, so
Yeah.
there's now you have 2 avenues of people keeping an eye on the land.
and it's good farmland.
Yep.
so.
He used to do the other side too, the old State Farm, but he gave up that lease.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to, there's no other discussion on that. We'll move on to item number 4 on the agenda. Status update regarding security and safety concerns regarding.
Excuse me, I can
Yep.
give you an update on Clark Farm lease. So it was updated in 2021. It's a 5-year lease.
Oh,
5 year
And
lease.
the dollar amount, if you just give me one more second. It's $80 per acre for 20.29 acres. And it would be a $1,623.23 a year.
And yeah, doing that a lot. Thank you, Roxanne.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which was the status update regarding security and safety concerns regarding Park on East Street. I have not gotten any update. I have not reached out.
Actually, I
to
have. One of the residents reached out to me last month, actually, that there was some activity going on over there. And the residents were actually gonna have a discussion with the mayor last month, with the mayor and the chief about what else we can do to help, because there was some graffiti that, you know, unfortunately, one of the neighbors, their kids went in there and then asked, you know, hey, what does that mean?
It was a vulgarity.
It was vulgarity, right? And Public Works did go over and clean everything up, so that was, but, so there was some discussion with the mayor about what they can do to maybe step up, because the weather's getting warmer again,
Right.
and it's been quiet for the winter, but now the weather's getting warmer. There's noted more activity going on over there.
And the family did appreciate the meeting with the mayor and the police chief, so.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah, I got the same feedback.
Okay. And they have the gate on there now too, right?
Somebody stole the lock on the gate.
Right, I think I did hear that. Yeah, that, I think we said that last. Oh, okay. All right, we'll move on. Any other discussion on that? Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, discussion regarding Public Act 21-29, an act concerning the Zoning Enabling Act, accessory apartments, training for certain land use officials, municipal affordable housing plans, and a commission on Connecticut's development and future.
So the part that we're discussing is the accessory apartments, correct? That's the action item down below.
What are you discussing?
There's really nothing
I thought we
to,
decided this wasn't a good fit for Ledyard.
Oh, but the problem is we can say that, but until planning and zoning acts on it, the council can't act on it at all.
so just echoing, you know, what we said in the last meeting last month is, I mean, it's there to be kind of on the radar. But it's in planning and zoning's hand, and that's basically all we can do at this moment. So that's why I put on there. So any other discussion on that for now, or?
And in my defense, I did ask Eric to come in to discuss that before he went to the town council, but he did not. So I wouldn't have to say it out loud for mistakes. I asked him to do that, so we could do it in private, but I felt compelled.
It's all good.
Yeah, we had that discussion right too. Yeah, like that, in this whole thing. Unless planning and zoning chooses to opt out on it, there's nothing that the council can do to act on it.
They don't currently have that appetite to. We have a public hearing. Not this Thursday, next Thursday on the proposed regulations. There is some discussion, however, of adopting those if they pass. Then deciding to opt out so that we have flexibility in the future to add certain things like a minimum lot requirement or a, I don't know.
So agreeing to this, but with restrictions.
Right now, the regs as are proposed comply with the statute, so they're gonna allow accessory attached and detached, and we can only regulate very basics. Statute's not gonna let you regulate to the extent that some people want to regulate ever.
Right.
It's never gonna be allowed. You can never regulate how they look. For example, you can never regulate their color, just, silly things like that, building materials. But the commission does recognize that there might be some value in having a statute that complies for now. Let's just get that done. But then opting out so that we can add on other restrictions should feelings change in the future. If a new commission comes on board or people move into town, views change.
Right.
If we don't opt out, at some point, we'll be locked into that. So that I think is a good compromise.
Okay, that sounds like a smart move.
And then, so when time comes, people are like, or if suddenly we get overrun with accessory apartments, which you will not, I promise. Should probably guarantee that.
Yeah,
Um,
Julie, we've talked,
you
Julie and I
can
have
opt out
talked about this, that if you look at the requirements and the number of lots that would be permissible to put this on.
Yeah.
Or that would fit.
Or that would even
Yeah.
fit on, right?
No, well, I like that plan though.
Yeah, I think it's a good
Yeah.
compromise, but we need to.
But it's
Why would the
definitely,
statute
it's
right
definitely
now?
a hot issue, you know, so
I don't,
that's,
it's so funny to me, I can't see why. 'cause
There's
it's
some
not an
people,
issue in any town
you know,
anymore.
but. You know, and my, my thing is just, that for us to pay attention to what's going on, so.
That's it.
So
You know.
when's the public hearing? May 12th?
Yes,
Um,
that's the second Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
no,
No.
yes.
Yes, it is.
And I think from it, yeah.
Not this Thursday.
Not this Thursday.
Okay, so we'll move on from that one. Any other, item number 6, any other old business property come before the committee? Hearing none. New business. Motion to accept a road widening strip along 125 Wellhead Road as accepted by the Planning and Zoning Commission on March 10th, 2022 as part of the application PZ 22-1 RESUB.
Second. Is it at this end, the wellhead, 125?
It's by my road, Avery Hill Extension,
Okay.
Kerry Court is right there. It's
How would they take out that mound right there by your house? Where Avery Hill comes out and wellhead does this? There's a serious line of sight issue right there.
Yeah. that's-
Oh, yeah, but that's, yeah.
Trying to work that into.
No,
the-
I hear, I know what you're saying because I gotta gun
That's
it.
ledge.
Yeah.
I gotta gun it out of there sometimes.
Yeah, we
but
all do.
that's, But no, this is just down a little bit from that. And there's the, so on that side, but yeah, it's like, what is it, 3 or 4 trailers?
Right.
And it's on the left-hand side, right there. So that's all that is. It's just giving the town the right away. Because he's putting in they subdivided that to a single lot, right?
It was, and now he came in yesterday and it's gonna be 4 lots in there, 830G. affordable housing. Which you have no.
Right.
Recourse because you don't have the 10%, so. It will pass.
So any other discussion on this?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 2, under new business, discussion regarding residents' concern pertaining to parking of commercial vehicles and residential areas. Obviously, we heard comments on that, and we can resume those comments.
I can,
Discussion.
just a quick glance, I can see there being some gray areas in here, possibly. Example, the truck I drive could be registered commercial, but it's not. And I parked that in my driveway. EJ Smith, who lives down Harley Davidson Way at the Dead End Dirt Road, he's got lots of commercial vehicles. But I'm not sure how he's zoned down there. But he's been there for years.
This isn't so much about zoning. This is about parking on public streets.
Oh, on the street.
On the
Yeah,
street.
right.
This is on-street parking.
Oh, not in someone's, this guy's
No,
talking
no,
about.
he's talking about that, like in his case here, he's talking about that there's a flatbed trailer that's parked on the road,
Oh, yeah, okay,
Right.
that's an issue.
blocking people across the street from being able to.
On-street
well-
parking of a commercial vehicle, I think.
Right, that's what
would
this
be
is
the way to say
talking
that.
about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, discussion doesn't say road.
Yeah, this is, it's on-street parking.
Yeah.
Okay. well,
They
oh,
they
that-
left it out.
Yeah, that's a
Right,
definite.
right. I mean, if you look like, then Roxanne called me up about it. While I was talking to her, she brought this up and I just happened to read. And, basically it's somebody, in this case here, they had a car in Norwalk where there's somebody's parking 5 limousines on the curb in front of their house.
Right.
In Milford, somebody parking an oil truck in front of their house. In Monroe's, it said that, public property can't be used to subsidize private companies, which means you can't park commercial vehicles
On the road.
on the street.
What about, okay, in my neighborhood, the St. Paul's
Hmm.
Court, do you know where Silas Dean, St. Paul, there's no homes on that street, and then Lynn Drive. on St. Paul, it's like they know where to park. They come with the big rig.
Mhm.
They park on the side of the road, and then they take the cab, and they leave.
Yeah.
And you've got this monster on the side of the
So
road,
you got the trailer sitting there.
right?
Yeah.
Is
And
it
it's
off the
huge.
road or on the road?
It's on the road.
Okay.
So the trailer's sitting there, but no cab.
There's no cab.
Right. But
You
me,
have no idea who it belongs to. When you're driving, the street's not that big.
Okay, well,
So you gotta,
yeah, I've been that way in years.
Right, like I said, over on my road on Meeting House Lane, up not maybe the up halfway down. There's a family there that did two big rigs. There's no trailers, but the rigs are parked there frequently on the weekends in front of the house,
On the road.
on the road.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, that's an issue.
I can definitely see that point. I mean,
Yeah.
it creates it can create a problem and,
Well, people
trying
are
to get
upset.
around or, and I mean, you look out your window and, somebody happens to, park their
Right.
vehicle and, it's almost like in your front yard, I can understand that.
Okay, who wants to really see that?
And because it's not, and this is where, part of the discussion from the zoning part, because it's not on the property, it's not a zoning issue.
Well, it can be.
It-
So you can attack it you can attack it from development standards. It would be hard to get it into the residential standards. That's where I would be struggling. So, but I do have a section in the residential section for driveways or supplemental regs. So you could add it to a supplemental reg that says there should be no off-site parking of commercial vehicles. And you could also attack it from, like if somebody said, fine, I'll pull the thing right up onto this vacant lot, then I would say that's an accessory use without a principal use, and that wouldn't be allowed either. So it would be, we can try it there. It's a one sentence fix. I can throw into both the commercial section of the regs and the residential, just emphasize it in the parking sections. And I know we have somewhere that you're supposed to supply on-site parking for the use that's there.
Right.
And that's why it could go into an ordinance easily too, because it's not.
But then you have the full-time truck driver who brings his rig home on the weekends and parks it out front, and he's going on Monday.
Yeah,
You
but
would have to park it on his property.
Right.
And then you could decide whether or not you wanted to make a rule against that. I mean,
Yeah, but
that's up to you, but
I think where John is going is that from an enforcement standpoint, guy who parks his rig
oh, somebody
on
will
a.
tattle.
Somebody will rat him out.
And
But I
I
mean,
just-
what you said, guy, he's got, I'm here on weekends only. This is my house. I live here. My truck won't fit in my driveway.
Then you gotta find a.
They can find a place to park it.
Mm.
I remember for years, there was somebody who had a big rig. And they would park it at the high school every weekend.
yeah, people will
There are
find a
people
place
that
or
will
rent a
probably-
place and,
Yeah, well, my brother likes to park at the garage police department
Right.
and then get a ride home.
but it's like I said, I mean, it's the same thing, like I tell my oil guys, you can't take your truck home.
Right.
If you can't get it off the road. I don't want my oil trucks on the road overnight,
Right.
And
And then, like I said, in some of the ordinance that they talk about in the article is not necessarily commercial vehicles. So it's like if you have your pickup truck or my pickup truck and it's registered commercial. Well, that may not fit the definition of, like they do here, that says that, they fit by one of the characteristics. It's got to be bigger than 8 feet tall, longer than 20 feet long,
Right, you have to find what the truck.
wider
the
than
truck
7
is.
feet, heavier than 1,200 pounds, or 12,000 pounds.
12,000.
Those, that kind of thing, where it really gets into it's a guy with a pickup truck.
Which was semantics kind of argument.
Right,
Yeah, and I can put those in there too. And the good thing about that is, so if some of the smaller commercial vehicles stay, then you immediately know where there's a possible home occupation. And then we can get them to move, they can apply for a permit, but they have to park it off-site, not visible parking line, property line. So I think you could do it zoning. I'm happy to write it either way, but.
I'm not opposed to the zoning, but I'm just weighing the options myself.
Now, if they're blocking a curve or a line of sight, wouldn't it be a police issue?
They wouldn't.
If they're in
go after it.
obstruction?
I tried.
Yeah.
What-
There's nothing that tells them they can't.
I was gonna say, what can they say to them?
They
Well,
have
you're
point
creating a
ordinance
safety
too.
issue.
Yeah.
how do you find them? If you just have
You've got to run the registration.
that's true.
But
They
it's
couldn't
registered to a
latch on to
business and not to
anything.
the individual living in his home.
Yeah, that's what I said. There's a lot of,
No, I know exactly. There's,
there's a lot to it.
There's a lot to it, right? it's not a simple,
Yeah. it's not a
Here's
simple
the
fix,
answer.
Yeah, here's the answer. It's not, not a quick fix.
And it's a safety issue too, which is why for home
Mhm.
occupations, you limit the number of trucks that can be there because, you know, they might have to be maintained or they could spill, if the oil truck could spill all the
Right.
oil. And you don't have control over, are there wetlands on that particular property?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's too much of a nightmare to try to regulate. So you just say, okay, you get one this big, it's gotta be in a garage with, you know, a floor.
Yeah.
So whatever you're worried about, I'll just fit it into a regulation or an ordinance, whichever way. And write it tomorrow, so whenever you want. Whichever way you want it.
But I mean, really the issue or this particular one is simply those kind of vehicles off the street.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah.
not talking about what they do in there,
no, I'm not doing what they're doing on their property.
correct? It's
That's truly a
just-
zoning
Yep,
matter.
yep, it's just the street.
So it's just on-street parking.
And we're talking about a safety issue because, like I said,
Well, it's
And-
kind of, it's a couple of things when you think about it. It's more than just safety. It's a safety issue from the standpoint of people driving,
right,
but it's also an inconvenience issue to the neighbors across the street who have difficulty pulling out of their driveway because you got this,
Or have to look at the truck out the front window.
or have to look
Sure,
through the truck,
right.
or having it because it's an on-call vehicle, it starts at
Right,
all
right.
hours of the
Yeah,
day and
Solo
night.
truck, yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning, you know, and then
You know,
right on the
everybody
street.
loves that, you know?
You get up in the morning, you open your blinds and there's a truck sitting right out in front of your house on the road. I mean,
Right.
it's, you know, I would say I probably wouldn't like that either.
So I think it's more than just a safety issue. It is, that's part of it, but it's more than just safety.
Multifaceted.
Multifaceted, but to the point, it's also a commercial vehicle using public property
Yes.
to run a business.
Those are all the reasons why you justify it, and you say, since this has to be uniform in all zones, if you're gonna put in a supplemental reg or a general reg rather miscellaneous, it's gotta apply everywhere,
Oh,
you know, uniformly, so it's just easier to say, okay, nobody gets to do it. I
Right.
don't care what the situation
right,
is.
no, I'm not, to your point, I don't, if
And
it's,
then that's your factor.
right, I don't, even if it's on Lorenz Parkway.
Right. Still
You shouldn't be
blocks the fire
parking,
truck.
just block the fire truck for safety issues, but it's, you should be having enough room on your property to park your vehicles. And you should not be using town,
Yeah, we do say that in the commercial one,
right,
on commercial properties, you have to
when you're regulated that way,
Established.
but there's no regulation for that in the residential
residential.
district.
So why would you say you're torn between the ordinance and doing it?
Enforcement. If it's an ordinance, the police can enforce it
Right,
by ticketing the vehicle.
and if it's, right, and then if not, it would be,
It's through the whole violation, notice of violation, notice of intent, notice of,
Can they issue a ticket right after that?
if it's in the ordinance, sure we can.
yeah, that's because it would, yeah, right,
I thought you
yeah,
had
that
to
makes
get
sense.
Put in, that's what we had trouble with the SDR,
What?
that there was no, or did you link it to a citation ordinance?
We would
unless you,
have to, or we put the citation in the ordinance, which is what we did for the blight.
Right.
It's contained
Right,
in
well,
the
it's the
blight.
same, it'd be the same as enforcing us, like the snow ban on the parking
Right.
or buses, livery buses on the certain roads.
Right.
Police can
Right.
take action and that's that.
right, that enforcement clause would have to be in the ordinance.
Yes, oh, yes, definitely.
Well, I think it makes sense to be there, and then I'll just put it into the zoning regs and say, see ordinance, whenever that gets passed, and then you have it in both places. So whoever wants to go after it, can.
We just prohibit it in both places.
Right.
Right, in order to put it in the regs, it's kind
Yeah,
of
why
double.
not?
Okay,
So do we notify these people with a letter or we just give them tickets? Like people that are in non-compliance?
Well, if it's an ordinance, it would just be, that would be it.
When the officer sees it parked there,
Slap a ticket on them.
Yep, and that gives the homeowner or whoever, instead of going and calling, the town hall, they just call the.
it'd be
police
nothing
department.
different than a parking violation.
Yeah,
You know,
but then the guy could say, "Well, I've been parking here for years, how come all of a sudden now I can't?"
Because there's an
no,
ordinance.
An ordinance that says you can't.
Right, wouldn't be fair to warn them first or just go ahead and do it?
Oh, they'll have warning through public hearings, right?
Oh, yeah. That's what I
Like,
heard
the
there.
police could opt to give a warning. the
Right,
first
right, and the,
time,
right, and the police doesn't have to, that's right, to the point, the police don't have to write a ticket the first time they see it, they can say, hey, you need to move this
Yeah.
out of here,
Right. Or
That
you're
would
gonna
be-
get- right.
up to Chief Rich and his staff.
That'd be the decent thing to do, because someone's been parking there for years and all of a sudden now they can't. So to stop them with a fine, kind of,
Well, the same with STRs.
Right.
How is that different?
well, we want-
The same with, a lot of rules that go
Yeah,
into, that yesterday was
there's
legal.
day one at some point, right?
Right, the day one, everything, what I object to, always objected to is when you pass an ordinance that's retroactive.
Yes.
Which there were several attempts and several different things that came through when I was chair of land use, where that was tried to be done, where it was. Today it's legal, tomorrow not only is it illegal, but we're gonna find you because you did it for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
That's me.
Actually,
That's
that
just
actually
mean.
happened with the, when there was a woman who was trying to get all the towns to pass ordinances on bamboo.
Oh, I remember that.
Well, to make it even more interesting is the woman who was pushing it was my sister-in-law's mother.
Oh.
So that makes interesting family discussions.
That's what I do
It
too.
still does, to tell you the truth, but, and the way she had written the ordinance, the draft ordinance was literally that it was the day the ordinance went into effect, you were in violation of something that you've had on your property for 20 or 30
So
years.
she wanted the fines go back 10 years.
She wanted, basically, you were illegal for something you did, there was no pre-existing clause that grandfathered you in.
Hmm.
So you were immediately illegal and had to abate. No, you can't do that to people. You can go forward that way, but you can't go backwards.
Right.
And this, I mean, this, yeah, but it's something like this, and that's exactly what it is. It's
Grandfather
going
it
forward. Hey, it's now,
It's from now, right? We're not saying that you did it last
I
week.
think
so
that'd be
we're
the
gonna
right
get
thing to do,
tickets.
is, from this point forward. you
Yeah,
can't-
no, I wouldn't.
You can't block this corner anymore.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say we're gonna go retroactive because we know that John
Right.
Marshall parked the commercial vehicle.
Well, I would assume you would
I
have
don't
a
know. We'll
date
make
as
exceptions.
of, right?
Right,
It would say,
the effective date of law.
Yeah.
you know, that,
You can no longer park. commercial
You can no longer
vehicles.
park commercial
Yeah, I think
vehicles
it should
greater
be in an
than.
ordinance.
and could be subject
And that's
to a,
it. That's
right,
why-
it could be
And I'm
subject
just
to a
gonna keep
fine.
referring, because this rewrite, I have to try and find, I didn't realize how many land use related ordinances there are
Oh,
in
yeah.
town. It's unusual to have in two places.
Yeah, I
because
know.
nobody knows to look there.
Right,
So I'm trying to find them and just reference all of them.
Yeah.
And so you'll be fine there too.
Okay, so you're going to write something up.
All right. something.
appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, and then it would be, so it would be, it could be subject to a certain amount of the fine, correct?
Yeah. we
Well,
can
what I would do
get
with
that,
that, what I would go and do is to the state parking fine.
And like
would
I
link it
said,
to-
this
I would link it
gives,
to that, I would link it to that statute for parking.
Okay.
right,
that
this
way-
way it
that
gives
way-
the
that way-
discretion to the.
Well, no, that way the appeals process is already in place, so I don't have to go. through
Oh,
and do one.
yeah, yeah,
You just pointed that the tickets in accordance with the parking, the state parking statute.
There's always the appeals process.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the problem. Anytime you have a fine or a ticket, you have to have some sort of appeal process. And if
Right.
you do it to the, just like it was, somebody wrote, an officer wrote a parking ticket. There is an appeal process through the state. I'm not trying to recreate a new appeals process
right.
that we have to staff and wonder about and worry about.
Meet once a year.
Right. And this isn't a case where we're doing this so that the town makes money or anything like that.
Right,
So,
right. Well, you know, the other thing I was thinking about why I like the ordinance, I would like the ordinance better too, in my opinion, is just, you do, you know, you happen to have somebody who, you know, to the point of somebody staying on a couch. If somebody happens to, I mean, not that it's legal, but you know, if somebody happens to stop and visit and have lunch with a friend and their vehicle's parked on the road for an hour, and a cop just happens to be driving by, you know, you want to have that little bit of, you know, that's the only-
Discretion.
right, to say, you know, if the officer does say, hey, man, you're not, you know, I'm just here for an hour, and you might not get called on either,
Right.
but you know what I mean, that's, you
That
know.
was the other discussion as to what, like, how do you stop just a mean neighbor from calling?
right,
the
that,
guy
I'm just
not
kind of
paying
thinking
for
about
it?
that process.
Right, right. But then, like I said, even if you read like the Connecticut Examiner, they actually limit to, commercial, sort of to your point. I have a painter coming over and he's painting my house, so he's parking his truck on the road.
Right, he's
Well,
gonna be there for the
doing
day.
a business for the day. And the limitation is only between the hours of, would be normal business hours, 10. That's the way Stanford or, you know, Milford wrote their ordinance, which basically
Right.
had during the day when there could be, you know, I use as a prime example. If you have lawn care done
Right,
and a guy pulls up with his truck and got that
Completely blocked.
25-foot trailer behind him,
Entire road.
okay, and he's blocking half the road.
Yeah, but that's understandable. People understand that. It's that
yeah,
truck
but you
that's
gotta,
there.
you still
that-
have to,
You still have to put the exception because
Right,
if you
right.
don't, there's a, you need to ticket him because he parked there blowing my neighbor's grass.
'Cause it
Right,
doesn't
right.
say here you
right,
can't.
because especially with something like that, because the guy might be there every week.
Right.
And now the neighbor
Right.
gets all upset
Right.
because they're
Because-
out there with their stuff, but you know, that's a
They're there-
legit deal.
Right, they're in there for 20 minutes or half an hour and they're gone,
Right,
or they're taking down a tree and they may be there for a longer, but they're allowed to be there if they're actually working on the property during normal business hours.
Right, right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll wait for that.
So you have to put that kind of exception, yeah, so the oil trucks delivering oil to your house.
or more or less working on your furnace.
Right,
you know,
right,
and your
exactly.
Guy's out there with his, doors open all day trying to install a furnace
Right,
for you.
right.
You know,
You know, some people can sit there and go, the Eversource truck's sitting up there with the boom
Right.
up, going like he's blocking half the road, you know.
right, I mean, and so would you have to write that in the ordinance? I mean,
think
like
you
if you had
should.
like an
Yeah, you should
emergency or
have-
Eversource.
Well, that you wouldn't, because that would be utility, so that
Okay.
falls under that statute.
Well, in case
anyway,
of a
but-
normal
right.
business
But
hours.
if you're doing the normal, you have some exception to normal business hours of
Or
business that's
emergency
being,
service calls.
Right, right.
but for commercial activity or commercial response on the property. In
Yeah.
other words, you don't want to have the guy who's sleeping on the couch, who's sitting there
Right.
parked with the tow truck.
Right.
All day long
Right.
waiting for a
For
call,
weeks on end.
because he's not actively towing a vehicle on
Right.
the property. But if, H&H Landscaping comes over, or Spicer Lawn Care is coming over to do maintenance on to do lawn care on my property,
Right, that's fine.
that's fine.
Right.
But you also say, yeah, you can't leave the truck there at midnight.
Right, it needs to,
Right.
So you have to put it kind of like these words to basically say, commercial vehicles parked on the road are allowed if they're actually performing business
Right.
or for a client on the property kind of thing.
Yeah. So I can't think of anything offhand where someone would be there every day performing something.
And if they are, they'd be there for, let's say you're having somebody do roofing or siding, they may be
Sure,
there. for
putting an
several days,
addition,
But they're
yeah,
not every
putting an
day.
addition on the
They're there
house.
they're there for a few months, or not a
Yeah.
few months, a couple of weeks doing an addition.
Yeah.
And I noticed like there's somebody building an addition over on Spicer Hill Extension. They're all parked off the road. Of course, if they parked on the road, they would get killed because they block it.
Yeah, don't know that why.
That's right.
Yeah, I can write something. That covers that.
Yeah.
I'll look at that article.
Yeah, that's because when Roxanne told me about it, I said, I just happened to read this. You may want to go take a look at that. And you may actually want to go see what their regulations say, and steal them. Their ordinance.
Right.
We're not, we all do, right? Whatever, see what their ordinance words are, say we can steal
I
them.
type when you can cut and paste.
Exactly. And ordinance and regulation, plagiarism is the best form of flattery from town. to town.
Like, hey, that's fine.
yeah.
The rules don't apply.
All right, any other discussion on this then? We'll wait.
No.
I'll read this.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other old business proper to come before the committee?
None.
Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:53 PM.
Well done.
Still saying the eyes are above the nose.